Okay, so ready to tackle something I think we all deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going deep into the fear of judgment,
Okay.
or as psychologist Michael Gervais calls it, FOPO.
FOPO.
Fear of people's opinions.
Right.
We've got some research and insights, and hopefully
Yeah.
by the end of this, you'll have some tools to really break free from that worry
Yeah.
and, really just be yourself.
It's fascinating how this fear, this OPU, flies under the radar
Right.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Gervais calls it a hidden epidemic because it's so pervasive and the impact it has is significant.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's not like a physical illness
Yeah,
that you can point to, but it definitely holds people back.
exactly. And there's a biological reason for that.
Oh.
When we feel judged, our brains react as if we're facing a genuine threat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the nervous system kicks into gear, releasing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline.
So basically, our caveman brains haven't quite figured out that a disapproving glance isn't the same as a saber-toothed tiger attack.
Right. And these hormones, while useful in actual danger,
Yeah.
they can cloud our judgment and make it hard to think clearly when we're just navigating social situations. So imagine feeling that fight or flight response
Wow.
all the time, just from worrying about what others think.
That explains why even the thought of public speaking
Yeah.
makes my heart race, like my body thinks I'm about to be hunted.
It's a very primal response.
Yeah.
But on top of that, we have something called the spotlight effect at play.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. It's like when you trip and you spill your coffee everywhere.
Yes.
And you're
Yeah.
convinced everyone saw. But in reality, most people probably didn't even notice, right?
Precisely, we tend to overestimate how much attention people are paying to us.
Right.
There's a study from Cornell where students were asked to wear an embarrassing T-shirt and then estimate how many of their peers noticed. They consistently overshot the actual number.
That's reassuring, actually. But even if the fear is often irrational, the consequences can be pretty real, can't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about it. How many times have you held back from doing something
Oh, countless times.
because you were worried about what others might think?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's the thing about FOPO.
Mm-hmm.
It can lead to missed opportunities,
Right.
prevent us from pursuing our passions, and even stifle our personal growth. In more extreme cases,
Yeah.
this constant fear of judgment can even contribute to social anxiety,
Oh, wow.
impacting our work, relationships, and daily life.
That's serious stuff. So knowing all of this,
Yeah.
how do we break free from this fear? I mean, who wants to live life constantly on edge,
Right.
worried about every little thing?
You're right. It's exhausting. And the good news is
Yeah.
there are proven strategies we can use to overcome FOPO.
Okay.
It all starts with self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
The more you understand and embrace who you are, your values, your strengths,
Right.
the less power those outside voices hold.
So it's about building up that inner confidence.
Exactly.
Almost like an internal shield against negativity.
Exactly. And there are practical ways to do this.
Okay.
Positive affirmations, for instance, might sound a bit cheesy,
Okay.
but they can actually be powerful tools.
Wait, you mean like looking in the mirror and saying, I am awesome?
Well, you can tailor them to what you need.
Okay.
But the idea is to consciously replace negative self-talk
Right.
with positive statements.
Okay.
It's about retraining your brain to focus on your strengths and worth.
Yeah.
Something as simple as I am capable or I am worthy can really make a difference over time. Yeah.
I can see how that would help shift your mindset, but what about those moments when you're about to do something outside your comfort zone?
Yeah.
And that fear just creeps in anyway.
Right.
Like you're about to give a presentation or meet new people,
Yeah.
and your brain starts conjuring up all these worst case scenarios.
That's where challenging those negative thoughts becomes key. Okay. When you find yourself spiraling into what ifs, pause and ask yourself, what's the absolute worst that could happen?
That's a good point. Often the fear we build up in our heads is way worse
Right.
than anything that could realistically occur.
Right. Often when you break down these imagined catastrophes,
Yeah.
they either become highly unlikely
Right.
or not nearly as bad as our fear makes them out to be.
It's like that time I was convinced I'd totally bomb a job interview.
Oh, yeah.
I'd pictured myself stumbling over my words,
Yeah.
spilling coffee on the interviewer, the whole 9 yards. Well, the interview went much better than I expected. I was a bit nervous, sure.
Yeah.
But I answered the questions thoughtfully.
Good.
And I think my genuine personality came through. I ended up getting the job.
That's a perfect example. It's so easy for our minds to go to that worst case scenario, but the reality is often much more manageable.
Totally. It's like our brains are these little drama queens, always prepping for the most dramatic, awful outcome possible.
And speaking of approaching things differently,
Yeah.
have you ever heard of the growth mindset?
I have, but maybe you could give us a refresher.
Of course. It's the idea that instead of viewing challenges or setbacks as failures that define, you see them as opportunities for growth and learning.
So instead of beating myself up over a mistake,
Yeah.
I should focus on what I can learn from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This shift in perspective can be incredibly powerful
Right.
in overcoming the fear of judgment.
Okay.
When you view mistakes as stepping stones, the prospect of being judged becomes less daunting.
I love that. It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, none of us are.
Right? We're all works in progress.
Right.
And embracing that makes the journey much more enjoyable.
Speaking of support systems, I think one of the things that's helped me the most in dealing with fear of judgment is having a solid group of friends and family who are always there for me.
You've hit on a really important point. The people we surround ourselves with
Yeah.
can have a huge impact on how we perceive ourselves
Right.
and how we cope with judgment from others.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad to remind you of your worth,
Yeah.
especially when you're doubting yourself.
Exactly. Choosing your circle wisely and seeking out those who uplift and encourage you is crucial.
Yeah.
Their support can be a real buffer against negativity and self-doubt.
It makes a huge difference. I remember going through a pretty public career setback a while back, and I was mortified.
Ooh.
But my friends and family rallied around me,
Good.
reminding me of my strengths and accomplishments. Their belief in me helped me get through that tough time.
That's a great example of how a supportive community can provide a sense of security and belonging,
Right.
which would be incredibly valuable when you're facing judgment or criticism.
Right.
And all of this leads to what I believe is the ultimate goal in overcoming FOPO, embracing authenticity.
Yes. Being your true self
Yes.
without apology. That's what we're all striving for. Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
It ties back to that self-discovery we talked about earlier. The more you know and accept yourself,
Right.
the more confident you'll be in expressing your authentic self to the world.
Yeah.
And guess what? The more authentic you are,
Yeah.
the more genuine your connections with others will be.
There's always that nagging fear, though, that being your true self might push some people away.
Yeah.
What if people think I'm too quirky,
Yeah.
too opinionated, too me?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Trying to please everyone and fit into some mold of who you should be
Yeah.
is a recipe for unhappiness.
Right.
When you're authentic,
Yeah.
you attract people who connect with the real you, not some carefully constructed facade.
So it's better to have a smaller circle of people who truly get you
Yeah,
than a huge following who only like a version of you that you've created.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the people who are meant to be in your life will love you for who you truly are,
Right.
quirks and all. And the ones who don't,
Yeah.
well, maybe they're not your people anyway.
Makes sense. Trying to please everyone is an impossible task. You're always going to encounter someone who disagrees with you or doesn't like something about you.
Right.
It's just part of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why waste your energy trying to be something you're not?
Right.
It's exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling.
Yeah.
Focus on being the best version of yourself,
Mm.
and the right people will gravitate towards you.
You know, it's funny, as we're talking about all this, I'm starting to think about how much this fear of judgment shapes not just our individual choices, but maybe even society as a whole, you know?
That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah.
If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder how many societal norms and expectations are rooted in this collective fear of standing out or being judged.
Right. Like, are we all just walking around in these metaphorical masks, afraid to let our true selves shine because we're worried about what others will think?
It raises some pretty profound questions
Yeah.
about the balance between individual expression and social cohesion.
Right.
Societies need some degree of conformity to function? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But where do we draw the line? When does that conformity start to stifle creativity and individuality.
It's almost like this fear of judgment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
We're so afraid to be different that we all end up conforming, which just reinforces the idea that we need to conform.
Precisely. And that can lead to a culture where people are afraid to take risks,
Yeah.
challenge the status quo, or truly be themselves.
Right.
And that's a loss for everyone.
Yeah.
Think about all the potential innovations, ideas, and solutions we might miss out on when people are afraid to express themselves fully.
So where do we go from here? How do we break free from this cycle of fear and conformity, both individually and as a society?
Well, it starts with each of us right here, right now. It's about consciously choosing authenticity over the need for constant approval.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our differences are what make us interesting, what make us human.
I love that.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fit in, we should be celebrating what makes each of us unique.
Exactly. And when we start doing that, when we show up as our authentic selves,
Yeah.
it gives others permission to do the same.
Right.
It can be incredibly contagious.
So if just one person listening to this decides to take a chance, be a little bolder, a little more themselves, that could create a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Never underestimate the power of one person's courage to inspire others.
I'm actually feeling pretty inspired right now.
Good.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the science behind FOPO to practical strategies for overcoming it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Remember, even if you stumble along the way, and we all do, those stumbles are just part of the journey. Embrace the growth, learn from it, and keep moving forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to everyone listening, let's all make a pact to be a little kinder to ourselves, embrace our quirks, and step into our most authentic selves. Until next time, stay curious and stay unstoppable.